finger-popping daddies. Welcome back to the Jazz Ranch. I'm the ultra-dominant ego man. You can call me Mr. Ego if you like. And I'm back from Newark. You know, I'm back. I know you missed me, but anyway. The KH, he doesn't like me telling stories, but I know he's going to be doing a video tonight on John Coltrane and McCoy Tyner. Specifically McCoy Tyner, you know, and back in the day, you know, the KH, he went to New York and he heard that group play at the Village Gate down on Bleecker Street. You know, that was the first time he heard him, but he also heard him in Newport, and he heard him at the Jazz Workshop in Boston. So he's heard him at least 3 times. But anyway, he knows all about McCoy Tyner. But, you know, he never heard that recording they did of My Favorite Things until he went to prep school. You know, he went to prep school up at Ashburnham, Massachusetts, and they took his record player and they locked it in a closet, you know. So he couldn't use it during the week. He could only get it on Saturdays and Sundays. So, you know, one time he went upstairs and he heard this music coming out of one of the rooms. He went in there, it was D. Riggs, and he heard John Coltrane and McCoy Tyner Quartet playing My Favorite Things, and it was right there in the room. And it was illegal. And he said, "What are you doing?" Anyway, D. Riggs had a table set up with a big tablecloth set on it. And underneath he had a turntable with speakers and everything, and he was listening to John Coltrane's My Favorite Things. You know, contraband, off time. Anyway, he had a guy down the hall that was warning him if the proctor came up, had a signal, bop, 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 bop. That meant 4 bops, and the proctor's coming up, turn the volume down so I can't hear it. Anyway, Cage was so impressed with D. Riggs for doing that, and actually D took his chest out, and he rolled it out for him, and he looked at the back there, and it said in there, yeah, I'll remember, it said Betty Davis's chest. Now, what does that mean? Well, it turns out that Betty Davis, the famous actress, went to that school. And she had lived in that room back in the day, back in the 40s or something, and she signed it on the back of his chest, on the, you know, his bureau. You can't make this stuff up. You don't make this stuff up. Anyway, the KH, he went back home. He got his reel-to-reel recorder, he recorded all his albums, he hid it under his bed, and he got it rigged up with speakers with a headset so he could listen to his records. That was how the story ends. Now, up, here he comes. I got a split. He's got the guide dog. See ya. Hello, friends. Welcome to the Jazz Ranch, Hip Cats and Groovy Chicks. Welcome back. And, you know, I'm sorry about the ultra-dominant man. You know, he always tells stories about me, but that's a true story. I did go to prep school. First time I heard My Favorite Things by John Coltrane was in D. Riggs' room when I went up there, and it was contraband. You weren't supposed to be playing music during the week at prep school, but he had it hidden under a table with a tablecloth. It all happened, it's true. And he pulled his bureau out, his chest of drawers, and in the back of it was autographed by Betty Davis, the great actress. She actually had that room back in the 40s or sometime, you know, and she signed it in the back. So that was pretty impressive. You know, you cannot make these stories up. It's true. So anyway, I got to hear Coltrane Quartet, that particular quartet, at least 3 or 4 times. Last one in Boston at the Jazz Workshop, and was so impressed with that. It was the greatest band I've ever heard. The greatest music I've ever heard live was that quartet. Next would be Miles Davis Quintet from with the Herbie Hancock, that era. But the John Coltrane Quartet, you went in, they would play one set. You know, it would be 1 hour long for one song. And they'd start the song at 9 o'clock, it would finish at 10 o'clock. Anyway, it was amazing. You were transfixed. It was a spiritual experience. So that's another story I'll tell you another time. But I do want to talk about McCoy Tyner. You know, he passed away just recently. I want to honor him with this video and show you some of his voicings and chords on the song My Favorite Things. So here we go with My Favorite Things. Starting out, I'd just like to say that McCoy Tyner was one of the greatest jazz pianists of all time and influenced so many people after him in terms of the modal style of playing. And rather than playing chords in block position, building thirds, he was building fourths. So he's getting this new sound that became the modal sound. And it's particularly happening here in this song, My Favorite Things. This modal way of playing. Now, in this tune, we're playing in a minor key and a major key. So in the minor key, he's actually using a block chord position, but then he's building from there. But then when he goes into his solo, he can do anything that is in that scale. Now, what is the scale? And what is a modal scale? Well, it's just saying that instead of playing on the chord changes of the tune, we're playing just on the basic root of the song and a scale that is built on that root. And we'll say, well, it's maybe E minor, right? So it's E minor, which is relative to G major, so it has one sharp in it. However, in this case, I think because he's going like, if he went like this to there, and then I would say that would be E minor because the C natural in it. But with the C sharp, he's actually playing the C sharp here. He's playing this chord. You see this C sharp is in the chord. Now what is that? That's an E minor 7. Then he's building from it the 9th. He's adding the 9th and the 11th. Then he's going up to this chord. But on this chord, you see he's hitting actually the G sharp there too as well. So that brings another element in there. But the C sharp, with the F sharp and the C sharp, we have the D scale. So now if we look at the scale that we're playing in here, and there's two scales because we're playing in major and minor. So we're starting out in minor, and the voicings are this: 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. That's the E minor 11 sound. That's a pretty unique sound. But then he goes to this. Now here you have an F sharp in there, right? And then here you have 3 sharps. So that's the key of A. All right? But I think basically we're thinking of this as probably E Dorian. E Dorian would have 2 sharps. I'm not really putting that sharp in there. I don't want that sharp in there. So I'm playing off of the E Dorian scale, which is like playing D scale starting on E. So it has 2 sharps, the F sharp and the G sharp. So there you have the modal sound, which is 4th voicings with pentatonic scales. This scale. Now what scale is that? That's a D pentatonic. Right? There's the D major pentatonic. If we take the second step of it, we have this. Now I should say that I learned this tune years ago, and I listened to this recording years ago, but I didn't really listen to it that closely. I just got the general idea of it. And I knew it was modal, and I knew it was based on an E minor scale, but I didn't really listen to McCoy's voicings really specifically until I wanted to make this video now. And now I'm realizing that he had this voicing in there. I was thinking more like he was playing this, which is more conventional. He's playing this, which is pretty unconventional, but it is also conventional because it's the 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. It's just how you build thirds. But then go to here. Where would you go from there? Would you go to like here? You know, so he has this. Now, the important thing is the rhythm and the fact that he's alternating the 2 hands like this. You see, if you don't get that, it's not the right rhythm. So these are upper extensions. You know, this is the
ninth and the 11th, you know, 9th, 11th, 9th, and 11th. So those are important to understand. Those are the first chords, and then the rest of it has an E pedal tone. So even though the chords are going through there, like the E pedal stays all through the tune, like. That made it have its unique modal sound. Then here, that F chord there, then. And this is the only place where the E pedal changes on the B, on the 5 chord there. And now you're playing with that E, so that E keeps it sort of in a drone kind of feel, or very hypnotic, or very spiritual, or sort of like Indian music, you know, that Indian music influence. So this interpretation of this song being modal means that we're just staying built on a mode of E minor. And that simplicity makes it sort of hypnotic. It has a spiritual quality to it. In other words, it's a drone. You know, it just stays in that mode. And then the melody is played again, and now they go to major. Actually, the way I interpret it is not according to the recording, but what I thought was practical. And it was first play the minor scale and then the major. Now in the recording, they actually play the theme and then they in minor, and then they go to major, soloing right away, and then eventually it keeps repeating through the major and the minor scales. But anyway, if it's the major scale now, well, it's just an E major. Now you have this. But what McCoy is doing is like this. So you can just take the E major and then play the scale tone 7th, and you've got all the chords. So now this is the Ionian mode for the major, and so it's just going to be the major scale of E, that scale in chords, 1, 3, 5, 7. Now so you're going to have this chord, E major 7, F sharp minor 7, G sharp minor 7, right? And the A is going to be major 7, A major 7. Then you're going to have the 5 is B dominant 7, then the 6 B minor 7, and the 7 B half diminished. There you go. See, that's a tricky one there, that D sharp. And then so all those chords work on this. Pretty much you're going to use those. You can use any of these chords on the solo. So keeping that, keep it sort of like that kind of thing is keeping it in the modal concept. But now it's a major. It's that E major pentatonic. So you have the E pentatonic. There's this one, the minor, and then the major. You'll see this on the score that I provide for this. So now for the major keys, McCoy is using these kind of voicings. Now it just means that he's doubling one of the notes and then he's adding a third here. So like he has the octave with a third added in there. Sound. So there's that major third in there with the octave. So on the major, the fourth voicing should be this. On the minor, be takes it up to there. So the two scales you can use for this song to improvise are the Dorian, E Dorian, which is based on a D scale, has the two sharps, and the E major now is just Ionian, built on the E major scale. So we have, and then so you have those two scales that you can work with that keeps it simple, and you can invent a lot of things just using those two scales. Signing off from the Jazz Ranch. Thanks so much, friends, for joining me. This is particularly special for me to do this video on John Coltrane and McCoy Tyner and my favorite things. If you have a special memory or something you want to tell me about your experience with this record or this recording, or having heard them play, or whatever, I would love to hear from you. And if you like this video, I'd love to hear from you. Please write to me. You know, I will always respond. I always give me a little bit of time, and maybe take a week or two for me to get back to you, but I will eventually get back to you. So until next time, I'll say in the words of my great friend Hermie Dressel, who also dug Coltrane, swing loose, and we'll see you next time around. Bye-bye.